Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. This article was submitted by Logan D'Alessandro, $5 Patreon supporter. Logan, you've been supporting the show very much for a long time. Thank you so much, folks who do not support at the Patreon. This is one of the things you get to do. You get bonus content. You get to have a say in the subjects that I cover on this show. You get early access to the podcast. You get bonus videos and a lot of cool stuff. And you're supporting independent media. Don't support the big corporate media. So this article is actually a study that came from the Institute for Children, Poverty, and Homelessness about the fact that 1 in 7 kids in New York City will experience homelessness by the time they reach the 5th grade. This is a pretty staggering statistic. And the research that here, now this article just focuses on New York City, but this is happening all over. I would wager this is happening in Los Angeles, which has a huge homeless problem. Also contributing to this factor is the rents and property values in New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco and many other big cities are going through the roof. So there's no affordable housing. If middle class, working class, there's no affordable housing, what do people do? It's only for the rich, the super rich? What do you do? How do you survive? I mean, this is nationwide. 50 million people are living in poverty. 80% of the population is very near poverty. 60% of the population doesn't have $1,000 in savings. And we can't do any better for our kids. More than 140,000 kids living in New York City and attending New York City public schools have experienced homelessness within the last 6 years. That's a city larger than White Plains and New Rochelle combined. The same population as Syracuse, New York. It's staggering. But what this does is it's not just affecting their grades. Sleeplessness, are they safe? Are they eating healthy? There's all these factors that are involved in going to school and having a safe, comfortable home, right? It's pretty staggering. So here's some basic statistics. During elementary school, the typical student who was homeless lived in at least 2 housing settings during elementary school, transferred schools mid-year 2 times, missed 88 days of school, almost half of the school year, and had twice the risk of being suspended or held back. That's pretty brutal. Had half the proficiency of their 5th grade math and English language arts assessments. 50%. Homeless students in New York City public schools increased by almost 33,000 students. That's a 50% jump in 6 years. If those trends continue, New York City public school students will experience homelessness at least once by the time they reach the 5th grade. Students in shelter achieve proficiency on 3rd through 8th grade math state assessments, just half the rate of homeless students living doubled up. So the things that are critical, according to this article, to recognize that the effects of homelessness last beyond the experience itself. Available data that show whether students have a history of homelessness should be made more accessible to teachers and administrators, and can help ensure that supports exist for both students who are currently living in unstable housing as well as those who have been homeless in the past. Because as they said, kids who are, even if they're in stable housing now, if they've been homeless, there's patterns that arise and they need to be addressed. A student's record of homelessness is only captured roughly once per year. This fails to account for students who experience homelessness later in the year and also does not provide a full picture of the student's history of homelessness to teachers and school administrators. Man, this is unbelievable. And this is not just New York City, guys. This is all over the country. It might be more severe, more staggering, and the numbers are bigger in New York City because it's bigger. But I'm sure this is happening in states like West Virginia. The city has succeeded in increasing pre-K enrollment among homeless children with 17% increase from 2014-15 to 2015-16. Well, that's good. 6.6% of students in the New York City charter schools were homeless in 2015 and 16. 3 points lower than the rate of students experiencing homelessness in public schools, which is 9.3%. It's just, and there's a lot of important stats here. Amidst citywide policy and curricula changes over time, achievement gaps by housing status persisted. Homeless students scored proficient at roughly half of the rate of those housed students overall on the state English Language Arts, ELA, assessments. Homeless students were not only more likely to have English language learner needs, meaning they come from a bilingual home, but they are also more likely to be designated as ELL for longer than their housed peers who were both low income and not low income. More than 40% of homeless ELL students still had ELL needs after 6 years compared to 1/3 of low income housed students and only 4% of non-low income. Wow. And that's not, and the stats go on and on. So it's something that needs to be addressed. I'm glad Logan D'Alessandro has sent me these articles. And obviously, if you live in New York City, it's something to petition. And one of the key, it's preposterous for this to happen in the richest country in the history of the world, right? And one of the ways to do it is to actually petition, and we're trying to do this in Los Angeles, of getting more affordable housing. That helps homelessness. It's not just building homeless shelters, right? There's people sort of on the bubble or kind of living in what they call unstable housing, not just flat out living on the street, but like kind of can't afford this, can sleep here some nights, have to go on the street a couple other nights. It's stuff like that. And more affordable housing for just regular people helps this problem. Not to mention having programs within the schools to help this problem. And if we don't address, there's a big economic bubble that's just waiting to burst. And so this problem won't get better. So I'm glad you're bringing this to our attention. And if you go to this website, ICPHUSA.org, there's a bunch of articles and a bunch of information to get here. There's also an interactive map, and it's pretty amazing. And how they go into the detail of it and all of the table of contents and the other research and the institute itself. This is a pretty good, solid resource. So thanks again for supporting the show. You too can go to the patreon.com/Graham Elwood to support, and you can learn about stuff like this. I appreciate, Logan, you sending me this my way. I go to New York at least once or twice a year. I have many friends that live there, and I was not aware of this issue, but now I am, thanks to you. And those of you living in New York, and check your cities and how you can get more involved and help problems like this. Thank you for watching.